Hello, this is Professor Hazara again, and this is the third video. There's probably going to be a total of 5, but I'm going to try to make this one short. This is the third video in doing a rather crude initial total pro forma evaluation. Okay, in the first video we made an income statement going way up here. In the second video we made a balance sheet, and the balance sheet totaled at $853,198 right here. There. Okay, and before we start this particular video, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to change my growth rate. And the reason I'm doing that is I just want to make sure that my balance sheet, that everything's working mechanically. So the balance changes to 886,964 and 886,964. So we're looking good here. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that out. And now I'm going to start this video. And now in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a look. I'm just going to fill in what I call my schedule of fixed assets. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I like to look at the fixed asset because it's such an important part of free cash flow. Is basically the comparison of depreciation expense with net asset increases. And it's also obviously a major part of the statement of cash flows. And in a sense, what we're doing here is we're kind of doing a pro forma version of all that T-account analysis we do in the statement of cash flows. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to start. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to compute, I can take this out and this out. I'm going to compute my depreciation rate. This is just the rate on a linear basis, which I depreciate all the assets at. Okay, and so my depreciation rate is going to be depreciation expense divided by my beginning gross assets. Okay, and so my beginning gross assets, I'm doing a pro forma for 21 through 25, so my beginning balances are going to be for June 30th to 20. Okay, so I'm going to get my depreciation expense from the statement of cash flows. Go out here somewhere. Right here. My depreciation expense is 12,796. My beginning gross assets. Now, my beginning gross assets, you can probably find it in a footnote and link there, but I'm not going to do that. My beginning gross assets, if you go up to your property, plant, equipment, your net assets beginning at 220, June 30th, 220 are 44,151. Then we come over here and your accumulated depreciation is 43,197. So the sum of those two would be your gross assets. So I'll go ahead, I'm going to jot it down here, 43,197, and I'll link to the 44,151. But your gross assets are going to be 43,197 plus my net book value of 44,151. So my beginning gross assets are 87,438. Now my depreciation rate is going to be, I depreciate expense of 12,000, 12.7, 12.8. divided by my gross assets of 87, which gives me a depreciation rate of 14.65. Now I'm going to use that depreciation rate to calculate my accumulated depreciation for all these years right here. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have, I've got a little schedule going across here. I'm going to do a calculation of gross assets, accumulated depreciation, and also the net book value. Now the net book value, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to the balance sheet. And this is almost guaranteed. This guarantees it. It's going to equal. I'll take my net book values from the amounts that I calculated using the base formula, my balance sheet. Okay, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to bring these all the way across here. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill in for the first year. We know that the gross assets are 87,438. And we also know that the accumulated depreciation, and it's just the difference between the two numbers you've already seen, is 43,197 right there. Okay, so I'm just going to fill in. There's no place to point really, so I'll just fill in here. So my accumulated depreciation, I'm going to put in minus 43,197. And of course, 87 plus that negative will give you that amount right there. Okay, using these three numbers as a basis, and then using that depreciation rate, I am going to calculate my accumulated depreciation going across, and then I'm going to add the net book value to the accumulated depreciation in whatever sense I have to, and I will then fill in the schedule. Okay, so to fill in my accumulated depreciation, I have accumulated depreciation of 43,197. Now logic has it that I'm going to do minus here because it'll be a negative. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my beginning gross assets, which is that number right there basically, and multiply that times my depreciation rate. Okay, so that should give you your new depreciation there of 55,953. Okay, and basically what I did is I took, if you look at the formula, I took my beginning accumulated depreciation, then added this year's depreciation expense, which is 14.65% of the gross assets. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and freeze the depreciation expense going across here. Okay, and these numbers won't make sense. I'm doing this deliberately to bother you. These numbers won't make sense. So we end up with that amount right there. Okay, and you may be asking, well, how? And I want to make sure it's stuck there. Yeah, it did. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, for this year right here, for 21, we know that our gross assets are going to be equal to the net book value minus that negative, which is a positive in math, which gives you 107,517. Okay, so that would be your gross assets at the end of fiscal year 2021. And then the only thing you have to do after that is, I think we can just copy both going across. Copy across this way. Okay, and that'll give you the gross assets and accumulated depreciation for the next 5 years. And let's just make sure, check on this. I always like check last year. If we take 239,043 minus, plus that negative of 143,478, that gives you 95564. So it does seem to be working just fine. Okay, so that's this right here. In the next video, we're going to go ahead and make this statement of cash flows. So that will be a little bit longer, and then we'll finish up with the a fairly quick final calculation. Okay, and then we'll have a basic worksheet that we can sort of play around with as we go along here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording of this and put it up on YouTube.